Bow with me, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, let's thank you for this day and the rains that we've had, and look over our soldiers overseas and their mothers here at home, and just keep your loving hand on them and those families, and guide and direct each of us that we might do your work for the Cherokee people, and for those that are traveling to the meetings and going home, give them traveling grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Shall we do the roll call, please?
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Charlie Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk.
Here.
Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Dawn Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
China Glory Jordan.
Present.
David Thornton.
Present.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Oh, honey.
John Masters.
Who?
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like approval for the minutes, August 16th. All in favor of the meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Moving on down to reports, management resources, Angela Drew. And Tom, you want to do that?
No, sir. I guess I can, but.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Angela's daughter became ill this afternoon, and so she had to leave and take her to see the doctor. So you have her report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay. We have a question for Paul.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I left her a message, but given the circumstances, just to make sure, would you please make sure that federal building, even though I guess it's still not ours, is under a maintenance schedule because the lawn was high when I went by and stuff to pay attention.
Federal building where?
Claremore Federal Building.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will do.
We have apprised the Bureau of Indian Affairs, who is the owner of the building, about our concerns about the maintenance of the building. Since we don't actually have any ownership interest, the question is whether or not we would do maintenance and repair without the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Okay, I was not aware of that. So does that mean we will never receive, or at this point are not going to receive title to the property? I thought that was going to be ours because that was the original.
Well, that's what we would think, and that's what we have been advocating, but the paperwork with regards to that transaction has been on hold for a long time. Long time. Yeah, you're right. It's at least 4 years.
Moving very quick for government work.
Yeah. Okay, Paul.
But we have pointed out the very fact that you pointed out is we are concerned about the maintenance of the building. Either they need to go ahead and take on the maintenance responsibility, but it is their building, or work out an agreement with us.
Okay, just for grins and giggles, if nobody can agree for whatever reason, am I going to get arrested if I go pay for somebody so we don't have City of Claremore? Or if I go mow the lawn? Because it's in the middle of town next to the courthouse.
I understand.
So.
It's been tied up in the solicitor's office for some time. We asked them to try to get loose. The solicitor has not cleared it because he's been given a priority to take land into trust, which in our view, this is the same thing. It's just under a different authority. And so we suggested it be handled the same way. It's not a very difficult transaction to shake loose from a federal perspective. It's not our decision to make.
Let me ask it a different way. Is there a potential that it's going to continue to look the way it is because of lack of answer from the federal government?
We are not the owner of that building, so we don't have the authority to go in and do maintenance to the building without their permission or authorization. We had pointed that out.
Lawn work or building?
And our staff
Talking
pointed
the
that
lawn
out.
needs mowed.
I think the
That was the
question.
purpose of the meeting that we had with them last week. To talk over that transaction as well as the others.
Mr. Chairman, if I might. Mr. Chairman, I think is mowing an issue as well as building maintenance?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not our property, so
So Madam Speaker, can our attorney cover me if I get arrested for mowing the lawn since the tribe is a... I mean, this is ridiculous. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more questions from Paul?
I'll follow up that.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, sir.
Moving on down to real estate services, Linda Donaldson.
Good afternoon. I believe you have my report, and before we get into some extra questions, I believe Mr. Baker had asked me to make a comment about the smoke shops, and I just wanted to point out that the smoke shops are, the lessees are still doing good business, maybe not as good as in prior years, but we have had a couple of shops that were able to afford to double their lease payments. And we also had a shop in Adair County, which recently the lessor mutually terminated their agreement with each other, and we had it leased to another party within the same month for more money. And we may have 2 shops close, but one's in a poor location. It's also near some Creek Nation smoke shops, which, you know, the Creeks can sell those off-brand cigarettes. But even though they do charge less for their off-brand cigarettes, they do have to charge more for their name-brand cigarette cartons. So there is a little bit of offset that they have there. But still, you know, people who smoke a lot probably buy those off-brand cigarettes more. There also was a safety issue in one of the shops that was closing, and no one appears to want that shop because of the problems with the poor location, the safety issue, plus the Creek Nation shops being so close. One other shop may be closing, but it's not because of taxes or because they're not doing well. It's just because that person is deciding they no longer want to be in the smoke shop business. And that shop may be out for bid for renegotiation with another, and if that doesn't happen, we'll probably bid it out. And we do have 3 shops after the taxes changed. We had 3 shops that did close because of taxes being too high. That was one on 82 Highway, one that was called Spavinaw Creek, and one that was in Salina. And all of those 3, the reasons for their closing was the taxes. And we are continuing to work with our smoke shop lessors to keep their shops continuous with leases on them, and our duty is to the landowner to get the best deal that we can for them on that. Yeah. So the shops are still doing pretty well from our perspective, and we just wanted to let you know that they were still out there doing business. And so do you have any questions about anything else?
Mr. Bill John.
Yeah, I haven't. I left a voicemail, and you probably didn't get it yet, but I was called by a lady that is researching the old cemetery. It's on fee land, and the people have refused to let her into the cemetery. What's her recourse?
She doesn't have a lot of recourse. She can visit, but she can't do much else besides that because it doesn't give her any recourse in the state statutes.
Okay.
I did talk to her on the phone. She did
Okay.
call, and I talked to her and told her where she was, and she was going to continue to work with the landowner to see if there might be a possibility at a later date.
So they don't have to let you fence or anything?
No, they don't.
But they do have to let you in.
They do have to let you in to visit.
Yeah. Well, they had refused that last time I talked to her.
And I think she indicated that they did let her go ahead and go in and
Okay.
take pictures.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Fishing Hawk.
How's my people up at Salad Wall Hollow doing?
That was one of the things that we talked to the Bureau last week about that, and the forester had a report ready to go to the solicitor, and they said after he makes his response back to them, we should have a report back. But he did indicate that the monies look like in the range of $10,000.
10,000. Okay.
And then that's in tripling the damage.
And that's for the previous time they done it, and this last time.
Only for this last time, because they didn't report the other time in a timely manner.
Okay, it wasn't
So,
time.
but it was for 2 acres of damage.
Okay. Well, I think the first time they went through and got all the walnuts.
Yeah, that's what I had understood too, is what
Yeah.
happened.
I had sent a request to your office about a lease at Ramona,
Yes.
and I was going to tell you, go ahead and disregard that, because I found one, I'm getting it from another source.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
We
Okay.
have responded to your request as of today. Might as well just go ahead and tell you our response. Initially, we thought that we could release at least a portion of that lease, but after looking at the lease, the lessors are restricted landowners, and we are not authorized to under the Federal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, so that if you want that information from the Bureau, you will need to send it them a FOIA request. I would be careful about releasing any of that information until you've got it cleared with the Bureau, because that could be considered a violation.
Council Lady Watts?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the cemeteries, I'm glad that was brought up. So under state law, do they have to be a direct descendant, or can they be an indirect descendant, a family, like cousin, or?
It just says relative.
Okay,
That's all it says,
it
is
does say
relative.
But it doesn't compel them to maintain that cemetery?
No, it does not. And the problem is that when the people buried their relatives on the land, you know, their family land, when they sold the land, they didn't reserve the cemetery for the family. They sold the cemetery with the land. And so when they sold the cemetery with the land, they sold their rights to that property. So now those people are now the property owners, and so they can run cows on it or do whatever.
But they can't intentionally destroy headstones or the grave sites, right?
No, they're not supposed to do that, and I was trying to find that regulation, and I know there's one out there about destruction of cemeteries when you know it, but I hadn't seen it yet, so I'm going to have to...
When you find that, could you email that out to all of us? I know I get those questions. It sounds like other people do too.
And I know that somebody had found it at one time because they were ready to sue someone in Sallisaw for dozing the headstones up. And I know it was in the Sallisaw area that happened. So I'll look for that and get you that site once I get that.
Thank you.
Council Lady Gloria?
Two things. I had asked last month for how much money was left in the Arkansas Riverbed funds, and I never did get that balance.
Okay. And Paula?
Mr. Chairman, Angie provided me a report earlier. I thought she'd mentioned that she had already sent it out to you all.
We did get a report, but it doesn't say anything about what our balance is in that account. It just
Showed
tells
what
us-
had been expended?
Yes, told us what had been bought
Okay.
with the funds. And I just would like to know the unencumbered
Remaining
balance.
balance.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was actually a lot more information than I asked for. And I didn't get what I asked for.
Does it help if you know how much it started with?
Yeah, maybe if we knew him, maybe we could figure it out ourselves after that, yeah.
We have that information. I thought that's what Paul that we had.
It's not federally protected? I mean, I'm just asking.
It's Cherokee Nation money.
Okay.
So it's not.
I just
federally
wondered how many
protected.
things was going to be federally protected.
It might be federally protected by some other outside.
If you all could just give me the starting amount,
And
so I can do the ending amount,
We
that'd be
will provide
great.
you with the balance. 'cause we
And
do
this
have-
is good information that she provided, but
7.2.
It's in the audit, 7.2.
well, then I will need what's left, because I think there's $15 million worth of purchases, so that.
I thought it was 11 something.
Okay.
I'm looking for that report.
If you do 11, then we're in the negative. So I'm assuming some of that might not have been riverbed funds then.
Your audit report reflects $7.2 million last year, but I know that there has been additional money obligated since the audit reports. I think we do have that number, and we'll try to get it to you.
Yeah, this shows a total of 11 million has been spent, so all of that must not be riverbed funds. If you only started with 7.2.
No, that was.
That's what you think is left?
That's what you think the balance is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, now tell me how much is obligated and what for, and what's left that's not obligated. Because I think I asked for what's not obligated.
Yeah, that was the way we understood your question. And I've seen the number, but I think offhand, but don't hold me to it, it's around $4 million.
Okay.
About-
If you all could
It
just,
depends on how many, some of those sales that have been obligated have not been executed, so it's a difference between what has been actually executed and bought and paid for, and those that may still be paid.
okay, if you all would be so kind to just email that
Okay.
figure, I'd sure appreciate it. The other thing is, I saw where you were going to close on property adjacent to Quartz Mall here in Tahlequah on 830.
Yes, and we did that.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind sharing that information with the two counselors from Cherokee County?
Okay. Yes, you bought that car lot that's right next to the court mall?
Well, I figured that's
Yeah.
what it was, but I thought our agreement for all of us was that we would be informed prior to the closing of the sale what you were going to do, so that when people ask us, we
Okay.
know about it. Is that changed? Because I thought that was the agreement that was with all counselors in this room, that if land was being bought in your area, that you were going to be informed prior to it happening, so that we would have little information before the public has it. So I guess that's a request for everybody in this room, that we get such information on our land purchases prior to them taking place, so that we're somewhat informed, so that we can at least answer questions of our constituents as the rumor goes through our local areas.
Okay, I'll pass that on to Angie because I don't think I had heard that as a request from the council.
I believe that was a discussion that was held here before in another committee meeting.
Okay.
And I just don't, and I may be talking with the wrong person, but I saw you were doing the closing, and I wondered why we didn't get the information. Because I'd had several people ask me about that sale, and I had to say, well, no, I hadn't been told about it by the tribe, and our agreement was that we would be informed prior to a sale taking place. And I just hate to hear those things out on the street when we should know about them prior to possibly the public knowing about it.
Okay. We'll do that. I'll talk to Angie about that. I'm sure that you probably should have been informed on that issue. But we did purchase that piece of property, and currently, due to time constraints on the people that were there not being able to move to another location because they didn't know it was happening either. And it was kind of a surprise, so we let them stay there this month, and then we've talked to them since, and because of the problems with licensing and getting certifications for another spot, if they can find one to do a car dealership, they needed more time, and we're going to let them stay till the end of the year and charge them rent while they look for another place to relocate to.
Would you email me the terms of the purchase and who we purchased from? And I'm assuming we did it through the appraisal, had an appraisal done on it.
Yes, we did.
Probably, I'm hoping we didn't exceed, and I'm sure we didn't exceed the appraisal price. But if you give me all the particulars by email, and Mr. Baker, are you wanting that too? And if you would, be so kind as next time possibly get it to us before it happens.
Okay. And just so that you be aware that I have talked to Mr. Schnell, and I'm sure Harley would want to know that we have been authorized to attend an auction on the 18th to look at property that is a possibility in Delaware County. It's an auction, so it's going to be if somebody outbids us, we may not get it. There's also a piece down in Sequoia County that we may also offer for, and it's 160 acres. The one in Delaware County is 20, but it's one that we would like to have if it's possible.
Are you looking at the one in Adair County?
I hadn't heard anything about that one, that anyone was looking at buying it. Okay, well, they didn't tell me on the Adair County one.
Councilman Garland?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking about those cemeteries out in the cow pasture. You know, in the springtime, those cows get nice on them and ticks and everything. They like to rub on trees
And headstones.
and get in there and knock them down. The property owner couldn't do anything about that. It's just a bad situation, but it'd be good if they could be fenced, but if they can't, they can't.
And we have worked with some in the past who have allowed us to come in and at our expense do a fence around the cemetery, but you can see from their perspective, if it's a grazing area for their cows, they just like to have it remain that way. So that's been part of the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council Lady Fisher-Hall?
That's what I wanted to ask about the 160 an acre. I'm done.
Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The land, potential land purchase you just mentioned, or land purchases, is that with Riverbed dollars?
I believe it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Linda, on these BIA hunting leases, 4 hunting leases approved by the BIA,
Those are individual leases for individual people that wanted to, they knew of a tract. These individuals wanted to lease certain properties where they knew that there was individually owned Indian land, and they leased those.
so it's not out on our...
No, it's not Cherokee Nation tribal land.
All right, thank you. Any more questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on down to environmental programs, Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you have our report, and the only thing I would add... I'm sorry?
Nothing. Caught it.
Watch
No
it.
remark in the chamber.
The only thing I would add on our report is the landfill is looking into constructing a landfill gas recovery system to recover that methane. They're at the volume size right now that they are mandated by regulation to do that, and so they're looking into that, and we're assisting them to the point we can. But they'll probably be doing that. I don't think they'll start construction by the end of the calendar year, but they'll probably get into a contract by then.
Any questions for Tom? Yes, sir.
Tom, just a little bit about the gas recovery system. How much do they think they'd recover, and what's the plan to do with it? What to do?
Well, I don't want to give out anything that might be proprietary,
Yeah.
but with most of those gas systems, they can either recover enough to use, or they can sell the carbon offsets for that. And so they'll either contract with a company to put it in for them. They would get the carbon offsets for it's all negotiated.
Yeah.
But they'll do some sort of that, and they would they'll want to do something like that. I mean, it has to be built. So they'll have to do a study to see how much methane they're getting out of there, and then just depending on what that would equalize out to for carbon, tons of carbon per year.
So what are we doing with it now? Just burning it off? Or just...
It's just venting. It's getting to the volume now of waste. We don't know the volume of gas. That's one of the things they'll have to study.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Tom, every spring, of course, it could happen anytime, but I've always kind of shuddered about a lightning strike down there in the wrong spot. Might look
yeah.
like a volcano.
Or setting it on fire. I mean, there's always a concern about that.
Right. And so I'm glad they're going to start recovering or doing something with it.
Well, and what's another good thing about that? We've had the only regulatory issue we've had out there is methane. This will completely alleviate that.
Good.
So there won't be any issues with
Thank you.
that either.
Any more questions for Tom? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on down to old business, see none. And new business, resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation to lease trust land to Tahlequah Hospital Foundation. This is Fulbright. Not here.
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve that because it's successful.
Got a motion to go ahead and approve it, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on down to announcements, we have any announcements? The next meeting will be October the 11th at 4 p.m. Move for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
5 o'clock, the chief is available with the executive legislative conference. I believe Shelley has issues to discuss on the agenda. So you're all welcome, 5 o'clock in the council chambers. Chief wanted to visit about the Echo Hawk decision, so thought maybe it'd be a good opportunity